Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and cats and dogs. I'm Carolyn Weber, the Executive Director at Deadwood History Incorporated, and we are at the Days of 76 Museum today, and more specifically, we are in the Clowser Trading Post exhibit. Now, which is named after a Deadwood businessman, historian, and collector, Don Clowser. And Don ran the Deadwood Trading Post here, and it was located at 627 Main Street, and that's where currently the Celebrity Hotel is. And Don started collecting artifacts in 1947, either 46 or 47, and he collected, oh my gosh, he collected Native American artifacts, pioneer artifacts, paleontology artifacts, and Chinese things, and he collected photographs and documents and animal mounts. He just had a little bit of everything in his collection. It was very eclectic. And of course he displayed it all at the Deadwood Trading Post, at his store there. And I'll tell you, that place, the store itself, that is another story too, because that place had as much variety as Don had in his artifact collection. The place was filled to the rafters. If you walked in there on any given day, you could go in and buy a pencil sharpener, you could buy a frying pan, a winter parka, some kitchen towels, an electric blanket. It was crazy. The guy had everything. He was like the beginning of Walmart. So it was a great place. And then, of course, his collection of artifacts grew and grew and grew over the years. Well, eventually, as you can imagine, it outgrew the trading post. There was not enough places to display all of his artifacts. But luckily, that collection found a brand new home at the Days of 76 Museum. So everything was moved down here where it could properly be displayed. And then in 2001, the Deadwood Historic Preservation Commission used preservation funding to purchase Don's collection, and then with the understanding that it would continue to be housed and displayed at the Days of 76 Museum, and the care and management of the artifacts would be undertaken by our organization, Deadwood History. So, we have, the city owns the collection, the Days of 76 houses and displays it, and then Deadwood History takes care of it. And then unfortunately, in 2004, Don Clowser passed away, but his love of history continues on here at the Days of 76 Museum. And what you see in this collection, all of these artifacts all around you everywhere, it's overwhelming. There's a lot of them, but you know what? It's just a small portion of the entire collection, the Don Clowser collection. The thing is massive. And we just recently, right before we had to close for the coronavirus pandemic, we were doing some upgrades to the exhibit, which hadn't happened in the last 6 or 7 years. So we did some upgrading to it because there was little, if any, interpretation on the artifacts, and that's just wrong. So we decided, hey, we're going to right that wrong. And so we got together and created interpretation for 60 pieces that are in this exhibit. And you're thinking, oh, interpretation, that conjures up the ideas of panels with text on them, or little labels next to each artifact telling us what it is. Not here, not with this interpretation. It's going to be a lot different from the normal type of interpretation you think of, and it'll be a lot more fun, yet it'll be informative and educational. So, to give you guys a little idea of what I'm talking about with this interpretation, I want to go through about 3 or 4 examples with you. The idea behind this interpretation too is based on kind of a question and answer format. So we will ask the questions who, what, when, where, why, and there's one more, but I can't. How, that's the one. Okay, so let's go over to our first question that we want to have answered. We're going to go over, whoops, sorry, there goes my mic, guys. We're going to go over to where. We want to find out what artifact originated from where in the world. So we're going to open up this interpretation book here, and as you can see, there are a number of countries that we could pick from which we wanted to find out. Well, I'm going to go for French. Oui. So we're going to look at France and see what came from there. So you pull back this tab, and it says item number 6 came from France. So there is item number 6 right there. And it is described as traditional French grape harvesting baskets were made of wooden willow onto a base of oak. This one matches those used in the Champagne region of Burgundy. So, ooh la la, such a humble little basket created sparkling, bubbly, glamorous bottles of champagne. So all I have to say is cheers to that one. So we've done where? Let's try another one. I'm going to skip over here to who. Let's try who. And this will answer our question of who is associated with artifacts in here? Who are the people that are associated with them? So let's concentrate on number 49 here. These Native American images right here, and there's a few more over there. So let's go to our who book and look in here, and we'll find the number 49. It tells us that these are prints of Edward Curtis photographs. And I'm going to read the description of the interpretation here for you. It says, a significant part of historic Native culture documentation in America can be traced back to Edward Curtis. As a teenager in 1855, Curtis showed interest in photography when the technology of this art form was still cumbersome and relatively new. Early success with his first several portraits of Native individuals got the attention of none other than financier J.P. Morgan, who in 1906 gave Curtis $75,000 to produce a series on Native American portraits. The project was to be 20 volumes of 1,500 photographs. So here's a killer deal. Curtis received no salary for the 20-year project, and his funds were not to be used for writing, editing, or production. But he was able to hire assistants and an anthropologist. He eventually produced 222 complete sets. Think about what that would be worth today. That would be worth a small fortune, I would think. His goal was to not only generate images, but document what white society then viewed as a disappearing race of noble cultures. Curtis made over 10,000 wax cylinder recordings of the native languages and music, took over 40,000 photographs of more than 80 tribes, that's amazing, and documented lore, music, history, housing, clothing, ceremonies, and funeral rites. In many cases, his records are the only written documentation of tribal history, so they're very important. Curtis later delved into motion pictures as documentation, and in 1914 created In the Land of Headhunters, odd title, but a film depicting Native American life. Late in his professional life, he was an unnamed assistant, forget this, cameraman Cecil B. DeMille's movie, The Ten Commandments. Just think of Charlton Heston as Moses coming down with the tablets. And the last chapter of Curtis's professional life really didn't end so well. He sold the rights to his work at a considerable loss, unfortunately, and during the conflict of his divorce with his wife, Clara, destroyed all of his original glass plate negatives rather than let them become her property. Now, there's got to be a little tension there, I'd say. So, but look at this guy. This is Edward Curtis. He's darn handsome, I'd have to say. So now, as Paul Harvey would say, you know the rest of the story behind these images here. So let's just go to one more idea of what this interpretation is all about. Let's go to, whoops, there goes my microphone. Let's go to which. And this interpretation here will answer the question of which animal is associated with an artifact. So there's all these animals on here to pick from, and I think the oddest one on here is the walrus. So I'm going to pick that one. And that corresponds with item number 60, which is right over here in this case. And the interpretation for that is Inuit people preferred to use walrus ivory from the sea animals' tusks for their traditional carving. They carved both decorative and practical items from this material. So as we can tell in here, the fish hooks are the practical, and that adorable little sled with those sled dogs, that's so cute. that would be the decorative part of the Inuit traditional carving there. So that gives you guys a good idea, I hope, of what our new interpretation here at the Deadwood, or excuse me, at the Clowser Trading Post is all about. And so when you come back next time, you'll be able to learn and see what I've been talking about for yourselves. So hopefully that will be soon. But I am very grateful today to Don Clowser for collecting all of these things. So grateful to Deadwood Historic Preservation Commission for purchasing this. This is what preservation dollars are all about, you guys. That's proof that they work very well for good causes. And I'm very thankful to Daryl Nelson, our exhibits director, and Amanda Brown, who is our education director. They created the interpretation in here. They did the research and put stuff together, so they are fabulous at that. And then I also want to be very thankful and grateful for all of you out there for the support that you continue to show Deadwood History Incorporated. So I am done for the day, which I'm sure you're pretty happy about after all this, but thank you for listening, and just keep watching us for videos on a daily basis, guys. Take care and be safe out there. Bye.